Our next guest achieved her first in a place where many women are told they don't belong: football. Dr. Jen Welter is a veteran linebacker and the first woman to coach in the NFL. Earlier, we spoke with her. Check it out. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Jen Welter. Yes.
Hello, everyone.
Dr. Jen, thank you so much for being here. Al was showing us some highlights earlier. I want to mess with you. But let's get to it. When did your love for football first begin?
I grew up, like a lot of kids do, loving football. And I thought that the players looked like real-life superheroes. You know, the pads and the helmet, they just look like everything that we picture is awesome. And I remember saying, like, I want to be a superhero too. It was just, that was also the first place in the world that somebody told me there was a difference between what girls do and what boys do.
Now, before your coaching career, you were a linebacker in women's football and a running back in men's football league. As a 5'2" woman, I am also the same, yes. Was it intimidating getting tackled by these huge men, or were you like...
And that's where the comparison stopped.
I was like, and I do too. We get it, right? What do you think about how scary or not scary was that?
Honestly, it was nothing I ever set out to do. In fact, I was very outspoken my whole career on how I would never play football against men, that I'm not crazy. But apparently, you know, I am crazy or crazy dedicated to the sport. Right. And when I had the opportunity to do something that could shift culture by playing, there was nothing that I wouldn't do. And that was because of all the women like myself who had been playing the game for all the right reasons. And yet when we won gold, it wasn't the thing. They wanted to see how it shook out against men.
What a pioneer. Yeah, and speaking of pioneership, you got a phone call that nobody else on the planet has ever gotten. You got a phone call from the Arizona Cardinals saying that you were being hired as a defensive coach. Walk us through that phone call and your emotions going through that.
And I had talked to him a while before that, and he had kind of said, you know, I think I want to do this, but I don't know yet if I can. I have to get a lot of yeses, but I want you to know it's in my heart to try. So it was, you know, Bruce and I, arm in arm, and I hadn't heard from him in a while, and then I was getting ready to coach. I was coaching indoor football at the time, and we were going to play in the championship. And I talked to Bruce when he's on the golf course, and he's like, "Oh yeah, you got a lot of work in front of you, coach. Go ahead and go out there and win that ship. And by the way, you're going to be joining us in Arizona. So, you know, we'll talk to you after you win the championship." And he kind of hung up, and I was like, like, that was just like the whiplash of the greatest news I'd ever gotten in my life. And I kind of had to almost do a double take. Like, did he just say what I think he said? And it in fact was. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll get you the details later. Just go ahead and win the championship and then join us in Arizona." And I was like, oh, okay, let's win the championship.
But the players, how did they respond to having a female coach?
That's such a great question. One of the yeses that Bruce actually got before he made this happen is probably the smartest thing I've ever heard. And I didn't even know it until years later when I interviewed Bruce for my book. He actually went to the locker room first. And when the guys who were the leaders in the locker room said yes, then Bruce brought it up the flagpole. But he knew you can't force buy-in. Right? But these guys were so proud to be a part of history. So I give players a ton of credit because I would not have had this opportunity if they hadn't wanted to be the men who had a part in shifting the culture of the NFL. And I think that's beautiful.
Completely reinventing the game. I know, mentally, physically, all of it. Dr. Jen, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your incredible, inspirational story. We appreciate you, and congrats on all your success. Thank you.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you so much.